Shall we begin? The last session, we finished Book 2, Canto 5. So today we can start Book 2, Canto 6. The kingdoms and godheads of the greater life. Last time we were still in the little life, no? And King Aswapati, on this last page, 172, he has again passed through this misty, chaotic region between the plains. It sounds a terrible place. A huge obstruction. Now I'm reading on page 172, last few lines. A huge obstruction, its immobile heart, the watching opacity multiplied as he moved, its hostile mass of dead and staring eyes. The darkness glimmered like a dying torch. Around him, an extinguished phantom glow, peopled with shadowy and misleading shapes. The vague, inconscious, dark, and measureless cave. His only sunlight was his spirit's flame. So he's passing through a very threatening and dangerous in-between world. As one who between dim receding walls towards the far gleam of a tunnel's mouth, hoping for light, walks now with freer pace and feels approach a breath of wider air. So he escaped from that grey anarchy. Into an ineffectual world he came, a purposeless region of arrested birth, where being from non-being fled and dared to live, but had no strength long to abide. Above there gleamed a pondering brow of sky, tormented, crossed by wings of doubtful haze, adventuring with the voice of roaming winds and crying for a direction in the void, like blind souls looking for the selves they lost and wandering through unfamiliar worlds. Wings of vague questioning met the query of space. After denial dawned a dubious hope, a hope of self and form and leave to live, and the birth of that which never yet could be, and joy of the mind's hazard, the heart's choice, grace of the unknown, and hands of sudden surprise, and a touch of sure delight in unsure things. To a strange, uncertain tract his journey came, where consciousness played with unconscious self, and birth was an attempt or episode. A charm drew near that could not keep its spell, an eager power that could not find its way, a chance that chose a strange arithmetic, but could not bind with it the forms it made, a multitude that could not guard its sum, which less than zero grew, and more than one. We must remember that all these descriptions are based on experiences that Sri Aurobindo had. He's not just making it up. He experienced it. So this is the experience of moving out of one world, this world of the little life with all its small, hostile, mischievous beings, and he's moving into another world. And he passes through this strange, misty, also a very unclear region. And at the beginning of this canto, Canto 6, it's as if he's been walking through a long, dark tunnel. And then as if you look through a long, dark tunnel and walk, eventually you may feel some light at the end. Would you read Ganga Lakshmi?
Yes. The kingdom and governance of the greater life. As one between him receding walls towards the far beam of the tunnel's mouth, hoping for life, walks now with a freer pace, and feels approach a breath of winder air.
Wider air.
So he escaped from that grey anarchy.
That grey anarchy, that confused and confusing, dim world where you don't know where you are and how things work. He escaped from that, like somebody walking through a long, dark tunnel. After a long time, he may feel, before he sees the light, he feels a fresh air. He feels approach a breath of wider air. So he comes out of that grey anarchy. But the world he comes into is also not very wonderful. You read Philomena. Into an yes, yeah.
Ineffectual world he came. Purposeless region or arrested world, where being from not being fled and died. To live, but had no strength long to it abide.
Yes, he came into an ineffectual world. Nothing much is happening there. There seems to be no purpose or aim in that region of arrested birth. Things are being born, but not fully born. On the way to being born, they get stopped, arrested, stopped. So in that world, being is fleeing, running away from non-being, from the state of non-existence. It dares to live, but it has no strength to remain for very long, no strength long to abide. And then there's a description of what that world looks like. Gamla.
Adventuring with the wise of roaming winds, and crying for a direction in the void, like blind souls looking for the stars they lost, and wandering through unfamiliar worlds, wings of battle, questioning, mid the query of space.
Yes, that's it. There, it stops. So when he comes out of this tunnel, there's a sky. He can see a sky. There's some kind of light above. There gleamed a pondering brow of sky. This is your brow, this part here. So there's some, perhaps clouds hanging over that world. And those clouds are tormented. The sky is being crossed by wings of doubtful haze. So there's a heavy sky lowering over this scene, and mists are passing by above. So those wings of doubtful haze, it's not wings of birds, it's wings of clouds. But they make a sound. There's a sound, or the winds make a sound. Adventuring, those wings are crossing, adventuring with a voice of roaming winds and crying for a direction in the void, in the emptiness. So it's a very lost sort of space. Sri Aurobindo says those wings of doubtful haze, that sound, they are like blind souls looking for the selves they have lost. They've lost themselves, and they are wandering through unfamiliar worlds. So again he has this word of wings. Wings of vague questioning met the query of space. So the wings, like beings flying through this misty region, it's as if they are asking a question, and all that comes back to them is the question of space. It doesn't have any answer to give. It's just why, what, where are we? That's the first impression. Yes?
Meaning of query.
Sorry?
Meaning of query.
Query, a query. A query is a question.
Previous also questioning.
Yeah.
It makes again the question.
Another query, another question. Yeah. So, but there's a full stop, and that marks a stage in the journey. And the next sentence tells of something else that's happening. Suresh, would you read?
After denied want the dubious hope, the hope of self and some live
To live.
and the birth of the which never yet could be, and joy of the mind's hazard, the heart's choice, grace of the unknown, and hands of sudden surprise, and a touch of sure delight in unsure things.
Yes. So it's like each sentence is a step in this journey of King Asvapati. So after that feeling of denial that we don't know anything here, It's as if a bit more light comes, some hope, but it's still a dubious hope. It's not sure of itself. It's full of doubt. But still, although that hope is dubious, there is the hope of self, the possibility of existing, of having a form, of being allowed to live. Here it says leave to live. It's like permission, being given permission to live. And the hope of a birth, the birth of something which had never been able to exist before. The birth of that which never yet could be. So far it hadn't been able to be, but now there's a hope that it could begin to be. So there's a kind of joy. The mind thinks, oh, maybe, mind's hazard, maybe something can happen. Hazard, it's taking a chance. The hope of the heart's choice. There's some grace, a grace of something unknown, as if you're being touched, hands of sudden surprise. And in all that doubtfulness, there's a touch of sure delight. That delight you can rely on. It's there, it's really there. A touch, just a small touch of sure delight in all those unsure things that are going on there. Bhavana, would you read?
To a strange, uncertain track his journey came, where consciousness played with unconscious self, and birth was an attempt or episode. A charm drew near that could not keep its spell, an eager power that could not find its way, a chance that chose a strange arithmetic but could not bind with it the forms it made, a multitude that could not call its sum, which less than zero grew and more than one.
This is strange, isn't it? Asvapati is coming to this new realm. And here there's some kind of play of consciousness, playing with unconscious self. Things are trying to be born, an attempt or an episode. It just, you're born for a very short time. There is some kind of charm, of delight that's coming near, but it can't remain, it can't keep its spell, it can't keep its attraction. There's this eager power which wants to be, but couldn't find its way. There's a chance, but that chance seems to be choosing to manifest a strange arithmetic. So he explains what it's like. It couldn't bind with it the forms it made. That eager power is trying to find its way, it's making forms, but it can't enable those forms to continue to exist for very long. There are many of them, a multitude of those forms, but you can't ever count how many there are, because it's the sum is varying all the time. And sometimes it becomes even less than zero. And sometimes it becomes more than one. I remember Shraddhavan speaking to us about these lines and explaining that in modern physics, they have detected a stage like this when things are coming into existence and going out of it again almost immediately. And there seems to be positive and negative numbers, real matter and dark matter, negative matter. A multitude that couldn't guard its sum, it couldn't remain what it is. Sometimes it becomes less than zero, and sometimes becomes more than one.
Is there any reason for Shraddhavan to take this maths, He's making arithmetic and numbers and all. Is there any reason for it?
I can't tell you, Bhavan. These are very, very mysterious lines, and it's a very mysterious place, isn't it? Well, of course, there must have been a reason. He must have experienced this strange state between worlds.
Because he says strange arithmetic. He says strange arithmetic.
Yes, it's a strange arithmetic. Well, we rely on another kind of arithmetic, and we think that the arithmetic we know we can rely on. But there in that state, you can't rely on it at all. You like to read?
Arriving at a large and shallow sense that carry not to define its feeding drift. Life liberated in a strange and mighty hair, denuded of her sweet magnificent sun.
So he says here that he's talking about life. And here this is at least the beginning of the greater life. We've been in the lesser life, no? So gradually he arrives at a realm. There seems to be some kind of large but shadowy sense, a sense of something that you can feel or a significance. But that sense doesn't care about making itself clear. It doesn't care to define, to make clear its fleeting drift. It's just drifting, changing, being more and less. It doesn't care to define itself, to make it clear. Life is laboring, working in this strange, here he uses this word again, a strange and mythic air. One is not sure whether this air is real or only an illusion. No? Life is denuded of her sweet, magnificent suns. The suns of life that give direction and light to life as it evolves. Those are all stripped away from her. So it's a very strange, weird land. So I'm going to ask Alice to read. Would you read from line 136, please, Alice?
Yes, I can.
I'll come back to you later. Alice, yeah?
In worlds imagined, never yet made true, a lingering glimmer of creation's verge. One strayed and dreamed, and never stopped to achieve. To achieve would have destroyed that magic space.
Such a strange space. Those worlds have been imagined, but they've never yet become real. It's just a faint light, a lingering glimmer on the very edge of creation. So there, in that realm, one can wander around and dream, but never stop to achieve, to realize something, to establish something, to make something real. If you had done that, if you'd made something real, that whole magic space would have disappeared. No? To achieve would have destroyed that magic space. So it's cloudy and misty and strange and contradictory, very unclear. Alexander.
The marvels of the twilight wonderland, full of a beauty strangely vaguely named, a surge of fanciful realities, dim tokens of a splendor sealed above, awoke the passion of the eye's desire, compelled belief on the enamored thought, and drew the heart, but led it to no goal.
So this is a twilight wonderland, a magic world, only half lit. It's full of beauty, strange beauty, but that beauty seems to have been created in vain, for no purpose, for no reason. A surge, it's like a wave of a sea of fanciful realities. Dim tokens, they're just signs, faint signs of a splendor sealed above. He's used this word splendor with a capital S. This must have some meaning, some significance. This is that secret splendor from the higher realms, no? But that's hidden, that's sealed. It's above, but it's sealed up. But those dim tokens of that splendor awoke the passion of the eye's desire. One loves to see those things, one wants to see them more and more. It compelled belief on the enamored thought that beauty is such that you want to believe in it, that it must exist, no? It attracts the heart, but it doesn't lead it to any goal. The heart is still wandering, not finding what it needs. Dana.
Magic flowed as if of moving scenes that kept away the fugitive delicacy of sparring lines linked by an abstract art in a rare, scanted light with faint dream brush on a silver background of incertitude.
It's like he's in some kind of moving picture. It's a little bit like the dream twilight of the ideal that Savitri passes through much later on. Moving scenes. They're just there for a moment, that kept a while. They're fugitive delicacy. They appear and they disappear. And they're very delicate, unclear, beautiful, sparing lines. Just very, as if you're making a drawing with very faint outlines. No? It says, limned by an abstract art. So we don't see any recognizable forms. And these lines are being drawn in a rare, scanted light. So in painting, if you use a light color, but with only very little color, it's being drawn with a faint dream brush. Even the brush is faint, no? On a silver background of incertitude. It begins to sound very beautiful, this faint, silvery, twilight place with these beautiful forms coming and going, but it's still full of incertitude, unsureness. Nothing is fixed and clear and obvious. Now, Slava, would you read, please? Line 52.
And if on floor of heavens near to morn, a fire intense, unseen, but benevolent, courtesy, the air with ardent hints of day, the perfect longing of imperfections are the evening cloud of the snare of ignorance, creatures drawn by bodies live to that region of mind being invisible wings came hungry for the joy of thinking life, but to divine, to create joy and share for faith, perishable things.
Yes, these are perishable things. These are the beings who come there. First, he describes the light in that place, an infant glow of heavens, skies, near to morning, like the very, very early morning light, a dawn light. It gives the sense that there's going to be a very intense fire coming, but you only get the idea that it's going to come. It doesn't come. It's never lit. It's conceived but never lit. So that is caressing the air of that realm with ardent hints of day. Ardent means intense, burning. No? So the air, it's like the sense that something's going to dawn now. Yeah? So who lives in that realm? Perfect beings. The perfect beings who long to experience the charm of imperfection. The perfect longing for imperfection's charm. There are divine beings, immortal, perfect beings, but they want to experience the charm, the delight of imperfection. The illumined beings caught by the snare of ignorance, as if they've been caught in a trap or a net. Ethereal creatures, beings who belong to that realm of ether, the subtlest form of substance. They are attracted by the idea of having a body. Ethereal creatures drawn by body's lure to that region of promise. This is a region which seems to promise and suggest beautiful things, no? They come beating their invisible wings like birds, but they are invisible. They come to that realm hungry for the joy of finite life, limited life, solid, defined life. But those beings are too divine to be able to walk on our soil, on this solid soil of our earth. They're too divine to share the fate of perishable things, beings like us who will live and then die. I think it's nice if we read to the break. Would you Go on, please, Ganga Lakshmi. The children of the unembodied gleam.
The children of the unembodied gleam rise from a formless thought in the soul, and chased by imperishable desire, traverse the field of pursuing brilliance. The winds of unpersisting faith walk them. Life was a search, but finding never ended.
Yes. So the children of the unembodied gleam, they don't have bodies, they don't have fixed forms, but they have some light. No? They've arisen, they've been born from a formless thought in the soul. And they are chased, they're driven by an imperishable desire, a desire that can never be satisfied. Those beings, these children of the unembodied gleam, are traversing the field of the pursuing gaze. As he looks, they cross his field of vision and then they disappear again. So in that world, he's experiencing that there's a will, but that will is not very firm. It's unpersisting. It's there for a moment and then it's gone. So the things can't exist for very long. There's nothing to keep them in existence. A will worked there that failed because it was unpersisting. So in that realm, that in-between realm that he's passing through, life was a search, but finding never came. There's nothing to be seized on. Philomena.
Nothing satisfied, but all alert. Things seemed to be that never hold it out. Images were seen that looked like living objects, and symbols in the sense they planned to show. Past dreams grew clear to the dreamer's eyes.
So in that world, nothing is satisfying, but everything's attractive. Everything allures, it's attractive. There are things that seem to be, that seem to exist, but they don't really. They're never wholly real. Images were seen that looked like they're real, that look like living acts. There are symbols that seem to be showing some meaning, but actually they are hiding that meaning. Pale dreams grew real to the dreamer's eyes. These are dream realities. No? Kamla.
Souls came there that vainly strive for words, and spirits entrapped mind and wander through all time. It never find the truth by which they live. All ran like hosts that had a lurking chance. Nothing was solid, nothing felt complete. All was unsafe, miraculous, and awful. It seemed a realm of life that had no base.
So then he says it very clearly. The souls came there, they want to be born, but they never manage to be. And there are spirits, they could get trapped there, and they can go on wandering through all time without finding the truth which enables them to live. Everything there is like a hope. The hope runs after something, but it's just a chance that is hiding, a lurking chance. In that realm, nothing was solid, nothing felt complete. All was unsafe, unreliable, but miraculous, half true. That seemed to be a realm of lives that had no base, no firm base. Perhaps like in a dream. So this is describing a series of intermediate states. He's leaving that realm of the little life, and he has to adventure through that natal mist, and there's a series of experiences, getting a little brighter and more attractive, but still not really reliable. But we will come to something a bit more solid. Then dawned a greater seeking, broadened sky, a journey under wings of brooding force. First came the kingdom of the morning star. This is mentioned several times in the poem. The beautiful beings of the future, out of the paths of the morning star, they come. The kingdom of the morning star, that star of promise which rises over the horizon before the dawn. A twilight beauty trembled under its spear. The idea that the morning star, its sparkles are like spears. So under the rays of light from that star, there's a twilight beauty trembling. It's also not very sure of itself. But there's the throb of promise of a wider life. And then slowly, it's again like a dawn, then slowly rose a great and doubting sun, and in its life, this is life, she made of self a world. A spirit was there that sought for its own deep self, yet was content with fragments pushed in front, and parts of being, of living, that belied the whole, that contradicted the whole. But those parts pieced together might one day be true. Yet something seemed to be achieved at last. A growing volume of the will to be, a text of living and a graph of force, a script of acts, a song of conscious forms burdened with meanings fugitive from thought's grasp and crowded with undertones of life's rhythmic cry, could write itself on the hearts of living things. In an outbreak of the might of secret spirit, in life and matter's answer of delight, some face of deathless beauty could be caught, that gave immortality to a moment's joy. Some word that could incarnate highest truth leaped out from a chance tension of the soul. Some hue of the absolute could fall on life. Some glory of knowledge and intuitive sight. Some passion of the rapturous heart of love. I want to read just to line 120. These are hints of possibilities, no? A hierophant, it's like a priest of the bodiless secrecy, interned in an unseen spiritual sheath. The will that pushes sense beyond its scope. We sense things that we can feel, solid things, but there's something beyond the sense of our scope of touch, to feel the light and joy intangible, that can't be felt with our senses. That will half found its way into the peace of the ineffable, half captured a sealed sweetness of desire that yearned from the bosom of mysterious bliss, half manifested veiled reality. Something is beginning to be manifested. A soul not wrapped into its cloak of mind could glimpse the true sense of a world of forms, illumined by a vision in the thought, upbuoyed by the heart's understanding flame. It could hold in the conscious ether of the spirit the divinity of a symbol universe. This is the beginning of the kingdom of the greater life. It gets half manifested in the subtle worlds before it can be completely realized. As one who between dim receding walls, towards the far gleam of a tunnel's mouth, hoping for light, walks now with freer pace and feels approach a breath of wider air. So he escaped from that grey anarchy. Into an ineffectual world he came, a purposeless region of arrested birth, where being from non-being fled and dared to live, but had no strength long to abide. Above there gleamed a pondering brow of sky, tormented, crossed by wings of doubtful haze, adventuring with a voice of roaming winds, and crying for a direction in the void, like blind souls looking for the selves they lost, and wandering through unfamiliar worlds. Wings of vague questioning met the query of space. After denial dawned a dubious hope, a hope of self and form and leave to live, and the birth of that which never yet could be, and joy of the mind's hazard, the heart's choice, grace of the unknown, and hands of sudden surprise, and a touch of sure delight in unsure things. To a strange, uncertain tract his journey came, where consciousness played with unconscious self, and birth was an attempt or episode. A charm drew near that could not keep its spell, an eager power that could not find its way, a chance that chose a strange arithmetic, but could not bind with it the forms it made, a multitude that could not guard its sum, which less than zero grew, and more than one. Arriving at a large and shadowy sense that cared not to define its fleeting drift, life laboured in a strange and mythic air, denuded of her sweet, magnificent suns. In worlds imagined, never yet made true, a lingering glimmer on creation's verge, one strayed and dreamed and never stopped to achieve. To achieve would have destroyed that magic space. The marvels of a twilight wonderland, full of a beauty strangely, vainly made, a surge of fanciful realities, dim tokens of a splendour sealed above, awoke the passion of the eye's desire, compelled belief on the enamoured thought, and drew the heart, but led it to no goal. A magic flowed, as if of moving scenes that kept awhile their fugitive delicacy, of sparing lines, limned by an abstract art, in a rare scanted light, with faint dream brush, on a silver background of incertitude. An infant glow of heavens near to morn, a fire intense, conceived but never lit, caressed the air with ardent hints of day. The perfect, longing for imperfection's charm, the illumined, caught by the snare of ignorance, ethereal creatures drawn by body's lure to that region of promise, beating invisible wings, came hungry for the joy of finite life, but too divine to tread created soil and share the fate of perishable things. The children of the unembodied gleam, arisen from a formless thought in the soul, and chased by an imperishable desire, traversed the field of the pursuing gaze. A will that unpersisting failed worked there. Life was a search, but finding never came. There nothing satisfied, but all allured. Things seemed to be that never wholly are. Images were seen that looked like living acts, and symbols hid the sense they claimed to show. Pale dreams grew real to the dreamer's eyes. The souls came there that vainly strive for birth, and spirits entrapped might wander through all time, yet never find the truth by which they live. All ran like hopes that hunt a lurking chance. Nothing was solid, nothing felt complete. All was unsafe, miraculous, and half true. It seemed a realm of lives that had no base.